having an established set of values in your life, knowing what you stand for and what you embrace and what you enjoy is a good indicator of if the job that you have doesn't support those values, you're probably going to be living a life that's not fulfilling. Here I am sitting and it's like 9 a.m. and I've been sitting for 90 straight minutes staring at a computer screen. And I'm like, man, my back already hurts from sitting, and where's the sunlight? And like, this is not natural for my kind of makeup. And for some people, maybe it is. The overall energy, I feel energy. I'm an empath. And so I could just feel like the energy was like, oh, when is Friday? And oh, what's my next paycheck? And I'm like, you know what? I'd rather be poor and live a life I love, doing what I love doing, than have this kind of false security with a paycheck with people I don't like.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Beyond Labels. I'm Dr. Sina McCullough, along with my co-host, the one and only Joel Salatin. Hi, Joel.
Hi, Sina.
I'm really excited because today Joel and I have asked a special guest to come on our podcast. His name is Josh Lewis, and I think you're all going to love him and love his positivity and his enthusiasm. Josh is actually an amazing example of how you can turn your dreams into your reality if you just believe in yourself. And as people on this podcast have heard me say before, I really think that you create your own reality. And that's why I wanted Josh to come on the show here today to explain to us how he turned this dream into a reality. So Josh went from spending his days in a cubicle in a very unfulfilling job to living the life of his dreams. He now owns his own fitness company called Co-Movement. That company not only offers private and remote coaching sessions, but they also offer a unique farm share program. He also hosts a podcast called the Co-Movement Gym Podcast, and he lives the Co-Movement brand mantra, which is move and live courageously. He is continually inspired by other risk takers, as well as unconventional individuals who value health, movement, and adventure, which is probably why you click so well with Joel and I, right? These unconventional thinkers. So welcome to the podcast, Josh. We're thrilled to have you here.
Thank you, Sina. Thank you, Joel. I'm excited to be here.
Great. Now, I'm going to go ahead and start off the question, if that's okay with you, Joel.
Absolutely. Run for it.
Okay, so I am so eager to know how you went about changing your life from working a job you hated to living a job that is your dream, or living a life of your dreams. Because so many people seem to be stuck in a situation where they want out of it. Maybe they don't like their job. Maybe they don't like the environment they're in. Maybe they can't find community or support. And they too want to change their life, but maybe they just don't know how. It kind of seems very overwhelming. I know I've been in that position before where it's just, where do you even start? It just seems like, how is this even going to be possible or come to fruition? So Josh, how did you actually do it?
Well, I was like the second day on the job sitting in the cubicle, I realized this is not for me. And I stayed there 2.5 years, and I struggled through it. But what I was doing during those 2.5 years really sort of set the stage for the next 12. And as I was honing my craft within fitness and nutrition, coaching people for free, I was going to certifications. I read my first book by Joel in 2007. I just started to become educated in the field that I wanted to go in, but I kept the security of my day-to-day job that I didn't like. And so I tell people, you have phase 1.0, and 1.0 is where you are, but don't want to be necessarily. Phase 2.0 is where you want to be, is like your ideal situation. But you have to spend a lot of time in phase 1.5. And 1.5 is the life of 1.0 mixed with where you want to go. And it gives you the ability to test out your skills, meet people, create some business framework, and to see if you are actually made out for what you say you want to do. And a lot of times people realize that it's not the path they want to choose, or it needs to pivot. And so, yeah, I looked at my coworkers sitting in the cubicles, and there's nothing against that lifestyle, to each their own with that. But I looked at people that were 20 and 30 years older than me, and if I wanted to be where they are, and the answer was no. And, I looked at different people in my life and mentors and what they had and where they were. And I just slowly started to refine my peer group, which I know we talked, Sina, on with some emails we exchanged, but, I went through, a challenging time in like 2007, 2008, where I was mixed with the old friend group, which was like a fixed mindset, negative thinkers, day-to-day type mindset. And then my coach at the time, James Fitzgerald from OPEX Fitness in Scottsdale, Arizona, told me, you need to find, if it's only one person, to put all of your positive energy into that one person that you resonate with as far as your values. And so I refined my peer group. And I'll tell you what, that probably has been one of the biggest shifts ever. That was back in 2007. And it led to more relationships, more friends, more opportunities. And here we are. I've been a full-time entrepreneur for 12 years, and we're rocking it. So
What do you that's such a wonderful story, and it really is the story of, as you know, of most entrepreneurs. I find it fascinating that you realized immediately, you said your second day in that cubicle job, that wasn't for you. What were the red flags that really jumped on you, in those first, whatever, that first week you were there? If you could name about two or three. How does a person know that you're heading down an unfulfilling path? What are the red flags?
Well, I think, having an established set of values in your life, knowing what you stand for, and what you embrace and what you enjoy, is a good indicator of, if the job that you have doesn't support those values, you're probably going to be living a life that's not fulfilling. And so for me, I've been very active my whole life. I grew up in the outdoors, both sides of my family, small farmers. I'm very active in the fitness community. I've competed for years in CrossFit and, different events. I do a lot of wrestling. And so here I am sitting, and it's like 9 a.m. and I've been sitting for 90 straight minutes staring at a computer screen. And I'm like, man, my back already hurts from sitting, and where's the sunlight? And like, this is not natural for my kind of makeup. And for some people, maybe it is. But yeah, it was that. And then, just sort of touring the environment and the overall energy. I feel energy. I'm an empath. And so I could just feel like the energy was like, oh, when is Friday? And what's my next paycheck? And I'm like, you know what? I'd rather be poor and live a life I love, doing what I love doing, than have this kind of false security with a paycheck with people I don't like. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's a powerful, that's a powerful thing. And people like us who share this entrepreneurial thing, I think in business books, generally they say that only something less than 10% of the population is entrepreneurial. Do you think that's true, or do you think that there's a lot more than that? They're just whatever. They're just squelched, or let's just say not encouraged. Do you think society encourages entrepreneurism?
No. I think the school system is broken. I think the university system in many regards is broken also, in terms of encouraging entrepreneurship. I think we're taught to be followers and not creative thinkers. I think we're also taught to chase security instead of embrace risk and freedom. And I think the longer that you get this ingrained in your system, it becomes harder and harder to bust out of it. Thankfully, at 27 years old, I busted out of that and have never looked back. But yeah, it's hard to put a percentage on it. But I think the big thing that separates the entrepreneurial mindset versus the employee is entrepreneurs spend most of their time not working for money directly via hourly pay and a paycheck. So all the time that the three of us spend writing blogs and doing this podcast and, whatever, moving cows and, all the stuff that we do on a daily basis, we're not getting a paycheck to say, like, it took Joel 90 minutes to move chickens and here's your pay for that. There's a huge difference in mindset with that. And so unless you can embrace that and spend that time building your brand and what you offer for a service, but not want it correlated to a paycheck, that's a hard thing to get over for a lot of people.
Boy, you really hit the nail on the head. One of my pet, one of the things that we see, we just got our 2022 set of stewards this week. They start May 1. So this week we've started with our new group of stewards. And, one of the things that I find really, something that you have to punch through, if you will, with them is just to realize, you don't get paid for everything in life. In our house, I don't know about your house, in our house, nobody gets paid for cleaning out the toilet. Yeah. And yet if nobody cleans the toilet, it's a kind of stinky place to live in. And so this idea of entitlement and, well, I'll do that, what do you pay me for it? That's just a powerful cultural stigma. I think it's really a stigma that shackles you from being able to go do the good things in life. If you want to get paid for every little notch that you do in a day, you're never going to actually unshackle yourself from those expectations and go actually do something. It's just profound. And I appreciate the way you articulated that. I'm dominating this, Sina, because, this just really floats my boat. You jump in right here. I'm sure you've got another question burning in your head. Go ahead and run with it.
I do. And see, I told you were going to love Josh.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's so like-minded. He just resonates. And, he's come out on the other side. He's just this beacon of hope for all of us. Along the lines of what you were just saying, I think that's one reason why it is important to spend time in that, what you call that 1.5 space, that 1.5 phase, because I have found personally that if I am pursuing something I am passionate about, then I'm not looking as much for, okay, how much is that? How many hours is that taking me? Breaking it down. How much am I getting paid per hour to chase this passion? It's just, I love doing this. How can I help other people by sharing this love of, this subject matter that I have? So I think that really helps you to shift that mindset, and spend that time, that unpaid time in that 1.5 phase. I mean, would you agree, Josh? Because you yourself had a lot of people who doubted you, right? Friends and family who told you don't do it, right?
Yeah, they still think I'm crazy. Yeah, for sure. I think one of the keys to success for people listening, and anyone thinking of taking a risk or jumping out on their own is, minimizing your day-to-day expenses. So if you have minimal expenses, grocery bill and, no car payment, minimal mortgage or rent, you're more free to do more things in phase 1.5. And I really figured that out quickly after college, that debt or bad debt and, large bills creates sort of like shackles on your ankles, and you can't take the risk and change your life really at all because you have such big monthly bills. And so even as things here have progressed the way they have in 12 years, I live the same exact lifestyle, and it's very simple. And I love every moment of that because material items don't make me happy. And so I think if people had smaller overhead day to day and they didn't look for pleasure with buying the newest truck or, you know, the next big payment, they would have more freedom to go do things in phase 1.5 and test. And then they can find themselves, I think.
You know, I don't think that ever ends. I don't think that ever ends. I mean, you know, a lot of people look at Teresa and I and, oh, you know, that'd be really cool to have a farm and be living on it and all this stuff. But they don't like to hear about the, you know, the 10 years of living in the attic of the farmhouse on $300 a month. If we didn't grow it in the garden, we didn't eat it. You know, we milked a couple of cows. We grew all of our own food. We never had a TV. We still don't have a TV. And, you know, we never ate out. There's never been a soft drink in the house. You know, we just, and you know, when I look back on all the things that I haven't done, it's a big list of things I haven't done that most people my age would have either done or certainly would aspire to at this point in their life. I have no desire for that. And, you know, I just love watching the earthworms and doing my thing. And for you, you know, you live your passion and being a minimalist, living minimally is really critical for freeing you up to be able to do that. You know, get on the Dave Ramsey bandwagon, you know, and get those debts out. You know, we need to understand that actual true wealth accumulation, and I'm talking about money here, true wealth, you know, happiness, relationships, skill, community, you know, that's true wealth. And to free you up for that, you can't just be on that grind every day. We see it here with our steward. It used to be when we started this apprenticeship program 30 years ago that almost everybody was, you know, 18, 19 years old. Now, most of them are 27, 28, 29, you know, 5 years into a white collar career. And just like you, Josh, they're staring out the window from their cubicle and they would prefer to be on the zero turn mower mowing the lawn of the corporate headquarters than sitting in the cubicle. Mm-hmm. And so yeah, that's a huge thing. So what were probably, you know, a couple of the biggest, when you made this decision, and you made it very early on, but you kept your whatever, your paycheck going as you went through this 1.0 or 1.5 phase. I like that. What are a couple of the biggest hurdles that you had to face when you finally handed in that 2 weeks notice?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think obviously the fear of failure, right? You know, that was a big thing to overcome, because we're told all throughout school that you have to succeed. You can't go backwards, right? And so whenever you make a big change, in many cases you make less money, and your lifestyle changes according to that. And some could look at that as a failure. And so, you know, I think for me, I never gave myself the option to fail. I think when you have bad months or you have negative interactions with clients or whatnot, you can question things. But if you never give yourself the option to fail, like you would rather, and this is extreme, but you'd rather die than quit, right? And that comes from my sports background. Then you figure it out. But what I've noticed with the number of people we've met here through the years is that if you have a way out or an excuse or a contingency plan to just, when things get tough, to give up and move on, then you won't make it. That's a guarantee. So I told myself, even with the fear and the doubt, that I will succeed at all costs and pivot as needed. And so, yeah, I think that was, and then also going against the grain. When you work for yourself, you're not working 9 to 5. And so your friends might get out of work and here you are till 8 in the gym training clients and then up the next morning at 5:30 a.m. And the whole lifestyle is different. But that's when like the peer group changes and you need that supporting mechanism to succeed in your new role as an entrepreneur. Like, look what we're doing now. It's almost 9 o'clock, right? We're like chatting on a computer. I've got 2 great friends with me, and I'm not missing out on the 9 to 5, lifestyle. So I think those 2 things were the biggest thing, the fear of failure, and then the change of routine. I remember the first week after I had quit, I'm sitting at like my breakfast table, like 8 a.m. and like no one's there. And you're like, gosh, like I gotta be self-motivated and start working now.
Uh-huh.
So yeah.
You just have to get up and do it. Mm-hmm. And I appreciate that. No way out. I just did an interview this weekend with a lady that was curious as to how Teresa and I had remained. We'll be celebrating our 42nd anniversary this year, and I just I said the same thing. I said, quitting on each other is not an option, and if you go into it with that option, then you're going to shortcut the creativity of punching through. And it's in business, it's in relationships, and all sorts of things. So that's that's a powerful thing.
So I know we're coming close on time. I have one more question. Is that cool, Joel? Do we have time for one more question?
Yeah, we've got a few more minutes. We're good. We're good.
Okay, great. Okay, Josh. So you sent this to me in an email and you've touched on it already. I'd like to hear more of your thoughts about it. It sounds like to me from the email correspondence, one of the key factors that helped you in pursuing your dream and creating this reality for yourself was the people who you chose to surround yourself with, right? It was that whole, the great advice you got from the coach was dropping the people who were negative and collecting people around you, surrounding yourself with people who are positive. So, and I love that. That resonates with me when we talk to people about how to reverse disease. That's actually one of the big steps in reversing disease is getting rid of that negativity. And oftentimes what I have found in working with clients is that people don't even realize how toxic other people are until they start looking at one person at a time and writing things down. Like, how do I feel when I'm with this person? How do I feel after I've talked with this person? Things like that. And I personally have seen how big of a difference it makes. My question for you is kind of a 2-parter. How big of a difference do you think it made to change your community? And how did you go about giving yourself permission to let go of those people? Because some of these people were probably friends for quite some time.
Well, to answer the first part, it made all the difference. If I didn't change that peer group over time, I wouldn't be where I am today. That's for sure. I would have got sucked back into the normal, whatever that setup was. I would have just slowly been pulled back like a rope, with a rope around my neck. So yeah, that made a huge difference. What was the second part of that, Sina?
That once you realized that you had toxic relationships, how did you go about giving yourself permission to break free of them?
Or even beyond that, how did you terminate them?
Yeah.
So it wasn't like black and white. It wasn't like I sent a group text to everyone. Like, you suck.
You're in, you're out. You're in, you're out.
No. And I've had that question before. And so, yeah, it wasn't like that. I look at and I've mentioned this word before, and I got this from Dr. John DeMartini, your values. And so he says your values are defined by what you spend your time, money, energy, and thoughts on. Mm-hmm. And so all I did was shift where I spend my time, money, energy, and thoughts. And it happened to be with different people, but it wasn't like a weekend thing where like I just found on Facebook like all new friends and this and that. It came through, Sina and Joel, through living in 1.5 land, right? So like seminars and certifications and, following, competitions and traveling some and, putting yourself out there to find that new peer group. And then I was amazed at when you find the right people, you don't need many of them, like less than 5. That goes like a long ways when you have people like to text every day that have the similar values and are motivational or pushing you and answer phone calls or call you, right? Like you don't need a group of 50 people around you to keep you motivated. You could even have one in many instances, I believe, but yeah, so it wasn't like I cut people's heads off with a bad, text message. But yeah, that was the difference maker. And it still is today. I'm very, very filtered with my relationships and who I spend energy on. And I get a very quick sense of, is it a parallel relationship with like, I'm getting energy and I'm giving energy, or am I giving you everything and getting nothing? And then I'm able to, again, filter out, for the most part.
And I think even that is a huge shift in the mainstream mindset, right? Because most people, I would be willing to say that most people do not have that mindset, that even just 1 or 2 or 3, like a handful of people is all that they need. Because if you look at what society is doing in large part on social media, what do people want? They want more quote unquote friends, right? And we measure somebody's almost likability by how many likes they get, how many friends they have on Facebook, things like that. So even that, I think, is in order to adopt that, what you're talking about, that lifestyle, you have to actually shift that mindset away from what we're being drawn toward, right? And what culture is moving toward, and back to this whole more of a tribal feeling that it doesn't really matter. All these, these people I quote unquote know who claim to be my quote unquote friends, it's really who surrounds me. That's my support system, and we depend on each other. And I know that person's got my back and I have theirs.
And the support system, I want to say to people, it can go beyond just personal relationships. So like your podcast, Beyond Labels, like I love your podcast and I listen to it every week. And so like you're part of my support system, right? You're validating my values and how I think. And so books can be a really good thing, but books and podcasts are a great supplement to your peer group. Also, I work from home, obviously, I'm in the gym and I'm listening to podcasts and motivational things like all the time when I'm not having, face-to-face conversation. And then I read a lot, and I'm reading all the time with things that I'm inspired by. And so those two things are also very important for people.
Yeah, the one common denominator when people that study successful entrepreneurs, the single most common denominator is that they read. Mm-hmm. They don't just sift through from Netflix to Netflix. They're reading. Mm-hmm. This is just great. We're going to have to close out this podcast, but man, what a honor and blessing to have you on, Josh, and just your uplifting spirit, your encouragement. We haven't even talked about the mechanics of physical fitness and all that, I'm a bit sorry about that, but I think we have drilled down on some really critical things, and in this day, Sina, I think you'd agree, we are in such disturbing waters culturally right now that the lure, the old promise of take this job and stay in it for 50 years and retire from it, that is becoming less and less normative, and people who are wanting to realign, renavigate these disturbing waters, the desire for doing something yourself the atomization, the business atomization of society is a real deal, and creating way more opportunities and encouragement, I think, in the basic entrepreneurial space. And Josh, you are a shining example, and thank you for sharing all of your wonderful principles. And I hope this pushes some folks over the edge that have been kind of on the edge and as my dad used to say, in fear and tremulation about it, and they'll say, okay, yeah, we can do this. That's a powerful thing to encourage somebody with.
Yeah. So, and I echo everything that Joel just said. We'd love to have you come back on the show when you're available. And Josh, can you just tell people where they can connect with you? And also, if you have any last words for anybody out there who may be thinking about wanting to change their reality as well.
Yeah, so for the most part, everyone can find us at our website, co-movement.com, co-movement.com, and then you could go anywhere from there. We're on Instagram and Facebook, the whole deal. We also do have our podcast too, so you can find that on there. So yeah, I guess like the only thing I can leave people with is, you know, I live with, and I think more people should, a sense of urgency, because life goes fast. And so, you know, I think that we should be pursuing our passion maximally every day, because what you don't want to do is when you hit 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 100, look back and say, I could have been this. You want to say, I was this. And so, yeah.
Great advice. Very well said. Blessings to you, Josh, and your crew and all that you're doing. And we love what you represent, what you're doing. Thanks for being a spokesman in our tribe. And we look forward to having you back and enjoying the conversation beyond. Thanks everyone for joining this podcast of Beyond Labels, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time.